So what could possibly make Simon the undisputed best antagonist of Infinity Train? Well, it's quite simple. He murdered Tuba.
That's all, folks.
But okay, in all seriousness, Simon's absolutely disgusting personality was one of the best things about Infinity Train Book 3, as odd as that sounds. His complete disregard for anyone that wasn't in the Apex, his violent, childish outbursts, his cocky attitude. You know you've come across a well-written bad guy when you just can't stand the way they act anytime they're on screen. Of course, he was a bad person, but that doesn't make him a bad character. As a character, he did his job as the main villain perfectly, which is why I'm going to be breaking down why I think he was the best main antagonist Infinity Train has had so far. But real quick, only a small percentage of my core viewer base is actually subscribed to my channel, so if you do find my videos on a regular basis but aren't subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. It helps me out a lot more than you think, and you'll be able to find my videos a lot easier than before. Simon was first introduced to the audience towards the end of Book 2. Well, I guess technically he was teased in the last episode of Book 1 on Amelia's computer, but the mall car was his official speaking debut. He was the second in command to Grace of the Apex group, a group of kids who ransacked train cars, taking what they believed deserved to be theirs. They believed the train's denizens were useless creatures that weren't anything because they didn't have numbers on their head. In the Apex's eyes, the higher number you have, the more respect you get. Since Amelia had the highest number on the train while she took over as the conductor, the Apex believed she was the true conductor all along, and 1-1 was the one that overthrew her, when in reality, it was vice versa. The main reason he believes this is because Amelia was still in control when he got on the train 8 years ago, same with Grace. I wonder how long she had been running things prior. I definitely thought Simon was a prick in this episode, but Grace felt way worse at the time, which makes sense because she was focused on way more than Simon was because she was the leader. She was super harsh to the denizens like Simon, but the way she tried to manipulate Jesse into joining the Apex, ditch MT, and destroy all the progress he had made on the train had me hardcore involving when I first watched this episode. The icing on the turd cake was when she technically had other denizens summoned into the mall car in order to get MT killed, aka Mason Steve. When Book 2 concluded, it was still uncertain if we were going to be getting a third book at the time considering the way Owen and the crew were tweeting. Thankfully, we got the announcement for Book 3 in July 2020 with the first episode of the book airing on August 12th, 2020. The season was shown to be focused on Grace and Simon, with two new characters playing major roles, later revealed to be Hazel and Tuba. I definitely wasn't expecting for these characters of all characters to be the main focus of a new season. I figured they'd just have an episode or two dedicated to them when the new pro tag runs into them. For the month of that wait, I was constantly thinking about how the crew was going to get me to even like just one of these two cretins. Well, I definitely liked Grace more, but hated Simon more and more each passing episode. The main premise of Book 3 was Grace and Simon getting separated from the rest of the Apex while in the middle of raiding a car. Funny enough, the car they were raiding was one of Amelia's attempts at recreating her life with Alric. It was that same turtle car that was shown way back in Book 1. The next car over was where the duo met Tuba and Hazel. Hazel was the catalyst that caused the relationship between Grace and Simon to waver. She was believed to be a passenger by the two of them because she had a number on her hand, but the number wasn't glowing like it was supposed to. So their plan was to bring her back to the rest of the Apex to see if her number could be fixed. Hazel easily agreed because she'd be able to meet more kids around her age. The catch was she wouldn't come if Tuba wasn't allowed to come with her. Neither Grace or Simon were fond of Tuba right away, but Grace sucked it up for the time being because she really wanted to have Hazel join. Even though Hazel turned out to be a denizen, I think if she wasn't thought to be a passenger at first, Grace wouldn't have been able to connect with her the way she did. By the time Grace found out Hazel wasn't a human girl, Grace had already felt bonded enough to her to the point where she kept Hazel's true identity a secret from Simon. Also, I think Hazel being a little girl made it easier for Grace to relate to her. Grace was maybe able to see some of herself in Hazel, which in turn caused her to reveal part of the reason she ended up on the train years ago. Simon, on the other hand, was constantly annoyed by Hazel's attachment to Tuba, as well as Tuba herself. At first, Grace was just playing along with it and truly did plan on wheeling Tuba eventually, but even Grace's playing along got on Simon's nerves. For a while, I thought Simon hated denizens just because Grace did, since she was the one who saved them, but the reason he needed saving in the first place was because the denizen that was with him at the beginning, Samantha the cat, abandoned him when a gnome was chasing them. That was the core reason he detested denizens all this time. For an 8-year-old kid to be on the verge of death, with the one being who he thought he could count on since arriving on the train leaving him behind like that, it's definitely a traumatizing thing to experience. Simon's trauma resurfaced in the episode Le Chat Chalet Car when Samantha was squatting out at the log cabin located in the car. This was the episode that revealed to the audience what happened between her and Simon for the first time. For the entire episode, he was freaking out trying to find a way out as soon as possible because every moment he was in the same area as Samantha, he felt like he couldn't breathe. This was the cause of Grace and Simon's first major fight in Book 3, since she was the one who thought they should stay in the cabin until the snow melts. Although Simon's reasoning for wanting to leave was valid, the way he was handling these emotions were fairly childish. This was a great way of showing that even though he's 18 now, he's still got a very childish mentality when it comes to most things. The next episode, the Color Clock Car, is what solidified Simon as the main antagonist. It sort of felt like the climax before the main climax. What was super messed up about this episode is at the time, I legitimately thought Simon was coming around. I really did. The way he reacted to Tuba's story about her daughter, the couple times they laughed together, and working together at the end to solve the card's puzzle, those reactions seemed very genuine. They really did. But of course, wolves in sheep's clothing are still real. Easily the scummiest thing someone has done in all of Infinity Train. It is the only time in the entire series, at least so far, where a major protagonist has died on screen in present time and stayed dead for the rest of the book. Atticus is the only other example I can think of because Amelia turned him into a golem, but he was turned back to normal in the very next episode, so it just goes to show you how stubborn Simon is when it comes to changing his outlooks on things. Also, I really hope he never owned a pet when he was back home. If he hates anything that isn't human this much, I'd hate to think what would happen if he ever owned a dog or something. The crazy thing is, Simon truly believed what he was doing was right and justified. In his eyes, Tuba wasn't a true companion to Hazel and he could just abandon her like Samantha did with him. In his own twisted way, he was trying to help Hazel. Does that make what he did okay, though? Absolutely not. But having the audience think he was starting to come around to Tuba just to have him kill her at the end of the same episode was an incredible surprise. Tuba's death was also the cause for Hazel to change into her turtle form for the first time in front of Grace, which, like I said earlier, she kept from Simon because she grew too attached at this point. Grace and Simon's relationship continued to strain even more once they ran into Amelia. Even after Amelia literally revealed to them that she was the quote-unquote real conductor, Simon still didn't believe who she was. He even went back to Samantha as a last resort to see if she could figure out why Grace has been shutting him out. We can clearly see he cares about Grace a lot. She's been the one person he can count on for years, and she kind of saved his life from that golem. You know, for him to go back to the cat, aka the reason he hates denizens in the first place, if it meant getting Grace back, really shows he cares for her. I don't necessarily know if he had romantic feelings for her though, but sometimes when he was blushing while talking to her, I thought there could be a possibility. You never know. With Samantha's help, he used the mini 1-1s on Grace while she was sleeping to figure out why she was acting like this. When he found out the truth about Hazel, it completely broke him. The one person who had saved his life and been by his side completely betrayed his trust. This is what I loved about Simon's character so much. With every passing episode, he grows more and more unstable and scary. We didn't really get that with the other main antagonists in Infinity Train. I personally like it when antagonists are built up in such a way where they become more threatening over time, so threatening to the point where our main protag can barely deal with them in the end. The Flecks were a major threat from the start. They never really had any antagonistic development to make them super scary. I loved the way they stuck to their ideals though. Mace didn't care he was about to die, even if it meant he could take MT with him. And I really liked the whole mystery surrounding Amelia in book 1, but it sort of felt like she had a change of heart a little too quickly. She'd been hellbent on recreating this life with Alric for at least 8 years on the train, then one encounter with Tulip changed her mindset. I don't know, I feel like it could have been fleshed out a little bit more. Then there's Simon. He goes completely AWOL and takes over the Apex after incapacitating Grace. He started acting like a dictator rather than a proper leader, having kids carry him down the stairs on a throne and shit. By this point, he was too far gone. He couldn't trust anybody anymore. In his head, he was always right about everything because everyone he got close to would just lie to him. Makes me wonder if the reason he got on the train in the first place was, lie related. His number continued to go up and up throughout their final confrontation. Even when Grace saved his life again, he simply didn't care anymore. He really tried to kill another passenger. At that point, he became irredeemable in my eyes as well as for the story. A golem tackled him, literally sucking his flesh and bones until there was nothing but dust. Even the golem died here because of how high Simon's number got. I couldn't believe my eyes when I first watched this episode. They deadass had him killed, and in such a gruesome way at that. But to be honest, it was a pretty fair death. At this point, we can't blame the circumstances of the train for why he died. The whole point of the train is for people to solve their problems in a healthy manner so they can deal better in real life. Of course, denizens are there to help the passengers, but never directly. The denizens never spell out how you're supposed to grow. At the end of the day, it's on the passenger. Simon just never changed for the better, only worse. But that's what made me love him as a villain. I think that just about does it for this video, though. I really hope Book 4 ends up being a thing so we can potentially get an even better antag than Simon. I'd love to see how Owen tops him. As long as the fans continue to be as vocal as they have been, though, we should be Gucci. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on Simon as a villain. Do you think he was the best too? If not, let me know who you think was better and why. I would love to know your thoughts. Of course, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below, and a second reminder to subscribe if you haven't. But for now, I'll see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.